Hello, welcome to OJ Studios. Please enjoy this week's short story.
At fault, Olivia Julius. Look, it's your fault, Virginia said, crossing her arms. How is this my fault? I asked defensively. But Virginia just rolled her eyes. Just look at me, she yelled, holding her arms out wide so I could get a full look at her. Because of you I'm trapped as a guy. To be fair, she was not wrong. I should have warned her about the equipment in my land and told her to avoid my latest creation. Now standing before is not my girlfriend Virginia, but instead standing in her place was a guy wearing girls' clothes that barely fitted him. You're not trapped, I said, trying to calm her down. All I have to do is reverse the calculations and I'll have to normal before we go to dinner. You better, or we're done, you hear me? I just nodded. I had to work fast though. If my boss saw Virginia like this, I'm going to be so fired. I punched in the calculations and started the machine. Virginia stood on the receiving pad, tapping her bare foot, waiting for me to turn her back into a woman. I said a little prayer before turning on the machine and watched her get zapped like last time. But then there is a problem. The machine started emitted a low buzz and I could see from the control panel that it was starting to overheat. Fearing the worst, I hit the emergency stop button and watched as the smoke that surrounded the platform that Virginia was standing on dissipated, revealing a small young boy where Virginia was, draped in the black dress Virginia had been wearing. Shit, I said, knowing full well that my relationship and career was now over. Virginia, or now the young boy, looked at me with confusion and fear in his eyes. I had never felt so guilty in my life. I knew I had messed up big time and there was no going back. I walked over to the platform and knelt in front of the boy, trying to find the right words to say. I'm so sorry, Virginia, I said softly. I didn't mean for this to happen. I'll do everything I can to fix this, I promise. But as I looked into the boy's eyes, I could see that it was too late. My mistake had irreversible consequences and I had to face the reality of what I had done. I stood up and walked out of the lab, feeling defeated and ashamed. As I walked down the hallway, I knew that I had to own up to my mistake and face the consequences. I had hurt the person I loved and jeopardized my career, all because of my carelessness. I had no one to blame but myself, and I knew that I had a long road ahead of me to make things right. But for now, all I could do was accept the fault and try to learn from my mistakes. I knew that I needed to take responsibility for my actions and make amends. I decided to go back to the lab and face the consequences. As I entered the room, I saw the damage that had been caused by my mistake. Equipment was broken, chemicals spilled, and the experiment was ruined. My supervisor was standing in the corner, looking at me with disappointment in his eyes. What happened here? He asked. I made a mistake, I replied, feeling the weight of my guilt. He shook his head. This is unacceptable. You know the protocol and the consequences of not following it. You have put the entire project in jeopardy. I know, I said. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make things right. I'll clean up the mess and work extra hours to make up for the lost time. My supervisor sighed. I hope you understand the gravity of your mistake. You have jeopardized not only your career but the entire project. You will have to face the consequences of your actions. I nodded, knowing that I had a long road ahead of me to regain trust and prove myself. But I was willing to do whatever it takes to make things right and learn from my mistakes.